Hello everybody, I have some important information to share with you, and that is that crochet is not for little old ladies. Case in point, I am not a little old lady. So what I want to do today is to show you how you can crochet so you can make your own projects at home eventually. Things like hats, scarves, blankets, pretty much anything you can imagine. People even make stuffed animals out of crochet stitches. So the first thing that you're gonna need is a set of supplies. So right here I have a ball of yarn. These come in a lot of different weights is what they're called. It's basically kind of the diameter of the yarn, the thread here. If it's really bulky, it'll be a higher number. If it's really thin, it'll be a smaller number. So this one's about a maybe like a 3 or 4 weight yarn, and this one is a little bit bulkier, so it has a little bit more thickness to it, and it is a number 5 in terms of weight. So it's really important to know what weight your yarn is because it'll determine what crochet hooks you use. Crochet hooks look a little bit like this. It's a long rod with a little hook on the end. They can be really big. This is size N. Or they can be very, very small, which is this one. And this one is an MM size. So in the United States, they have letters for the sizes, but they also write down the metrics. So this is 3.5 millimeters. They kind of go up in size and they go up in letters. So that'll kind of help you out to figure out. Another thing is that the label that comes with the yarn will actually tell you what kind of hook that you will need. Or if you're doing a knitting, it tells you what size knitting needles. Knitting needles are 2, and our crochet is just 1. It's just a hook. These ones are straight, so that's the difference between those. Don't confuse them. So this one is our blue here. This one is a 3 weight yarn, and it requires a G hook, which is this one. And so you can kind of tell because the hook will fit nicely into the yarn, and if it's too small for the type of yarn, you might get it looping through the individual fibers rather than around the whole strand. So you definitely want to have the right size hook. The other thing that you might consider having is these little stitch markers. So if you're doing a really complicated project with a lot of rows and maybe you leave off somewhere and you need to know how many in that certain row while you're counting, this can kind of mark your place. It's just like a little safety pin, except it's not pointy and won't stab you like they usually do when I use safety pins. So these ones are just little plastic things. There's all kinds of different kinds of stitch markers. So to get started, you will need to learn how to make a slip knot. So the very first thing in crochet is to make a very simple loop. Crochet is actually just a bunch of loops that are kind of intertwined and held together with the right tension. So kind of like sewing, how a sewing machine will give you a certain tension. The threads that you're sewing along will hold together like hooks on each other, and they'll be perfectly balanced to stay together. It's the same thing with crochet, except we're doing this manually with a hook. So the first thing you want to do is make a slip knot. So you'll grab the end of your yarn and you will make an X with a loop. So you have this here. Let me lay it out so you can see it. You'll have this. Then you're going to want to take this end of it, tuck it a loop through. So you're going to pull some of it through and grab both ends. You'll have a little halo around the middle, and then just kind of pull both sides until they tighten. And this is called a slip knot because if you pull on it all the way, it'll completely open back up as if it was never there. So you can adjust the size of your loops, and that will help you as you crochet. So let me put this back into a slip knot again. So you will need the slip knot because the size of your loop is very important, and it will determine how the rest of your stitches look like. They all have to kind of have the same size loop if you want them to look uniform. So from here, we want to know how to hold our crochet hook. There's a whole lot of different ways. If you get a book or see other things online, they might show you many different ways to hold it. You have it on the loop. I hold it kind of like this, as if you're holding a little puppet and you grab onto the ends of it there. Not super tight, not super loose, just the right amount so you can comfortably twist it, turn it, go every which way. The other end, if you noticed, I'm grabbing it with my thumb and my middle finger on the end of the project just below the knot, and I have the yarn thread looped over my finger. This is going to create tension, and then with my remaining fingers I kind of grip it on the inside of my hand, just enough so that it gives it a little bit of tightness and resistance as I'm pulling more the yarn through, but not so tight that I can't grab anymore. So you just want to create a little bit of resistance and then try to keep an even tension. This is the same thing with sewing, is that you need the tension to hold the stitches together, and it has to be even or else it'll come out a little lumpy and weird. This is kind of like a loose guitar string kind of feel. So the very first thing, if you're doing straight rows, is that you make a chain. Our chain stitches, we're going to be doing what's called yarning over. You tilt the hook under, and then you grab on with the hook and then slide it through, and then raise it out just enough so that you have that loop, same size loop we had before, enough that you could slide it through but not super tight. You'll go under and then over with the hook, grab it and then pull it through. That's another chain. So we've had 1, 2, and then 3 chains. For our practice, we'll chain all the way until we get to 20. So now we have a pretty nice chain here. It looks like that. And these, you'll see these little V-shape pieces that go in on either side, and your back side will have the chain in the middle. So make sure that you're looking at the correct side. You want the V-shaped side facing you. And we're gonna go across our chain and do our first stitches. So your first stitch is going to be the single crochet. This is the most common, most simple crochet stitch in the whole arsenal of stitches out there. There's tons. For each stitch, you're going to insert your hook into the loop. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna yarn over, so you're gonna go from underneath and over, grab a loop of yarn, pull it through. Now we have 2 loops on our hook, and before we do anything else, we're gonna yarn over again and then pull that through both. And that is our first single crochet stitch. So let me show you that again. You're going to put your hook into this first loop here, and you want to be careful not to get the other loops from underneath. So that first loop, you're going to yarn over, pull it through. You have 2 loops on your hook, and then you're going to yarn over again, pull the loop, and now you have a second single crochet stitch. So if you are just starting out, I would recommend just practicing these stitches over and over again. This makes it look super easy, but it actually takes a lot of practice. Sometimes your needle will get stuck in between the fibers of your yarn, so just be mindful of where you're putting it in. And loop through, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through both. That is your single crochet, and you're going to want to do that all the way to the end of the line, and I'll show you what that looks like after the whole row is complete. Okay, so I've gotten to the end, and at the end we have nowhere to go in this direction because we've gotten to the very last loop. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain one. So we're going to pull through just like we did before when we were making a chain. You're just going to, from your original loop, you're going to yarn over and then pull through, and you have another chain. And then you're going to flip it around. So now you're looking at the back side of it. So this is what my first row of single crochet looks like. A little lumpy, but not too bad. So this is the back side, this is the front side, and this was our original chain here at the bottom. And what you get, if you notice, it looks very similar. At the top of your single crochet stitch, we get that same pattern, the V shape of 2 loops on either side. So one thing to note is this is one row completed of single crochets. Usually if you want to go to the next row and turn it around and go again, what you'll do for single crochet is you want to make a chain first. So let me grab my thread again. You'll yarn over, pull it through, chain one, and then you're going to flip the whole piece over. So now I'm going to readjust, put the thread around my finger, and what you're going to do is for each one, if you want to do another single crochet, you'll put the hook through both of the sides of your V. So it'll loop through both, and then you can yarn over, pull through, and do your single crochet. So again, for the next one, you'll go through both loops, both of the V's, not anything else underneath, and then yarn over and then pull through. So if you keep going like that, just practice, make little squares until you get the tension right and kind of the feel of how to hold the thread. So it'll take quite a while. It will not be easy right away, but these are the first steps to doing really amazing things with crochet.